wasn't me.
Well, the most important people are here because our panelists are here. Thank you so much. I'm Sherry Dargan. I'm the president of the League of Women Voters of BlackHawk-Bremer. And I'm going to turn it over to Yeshi, who is our moderator today.
Thank you so much. Folks, this is going to be a wonderful session. If you're tuning in, it is really all about voting. Everything you need to cast your ballot for the 2020 election. We're going to dispel some of the myths and get right down to the information of how you can cast your ballot for the 2020 election. We are privileged to have with us today a distinguished panel. Secretary of State Pate is with us. We have 2 county auditors, one from Blackhawk County, Grant Veeder, and then from Bremer County, Shelley Wolf. We also have our Democratic chair for Blackhawk County, Vicki Brown, and then our Republican chair, Leanne Saul, and then also our president for League of Women Voters, Iowa, Therese Grant. So welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us on this panel. When we get started, I'm going to ask you all just to do a couple of minutes of brief introduction, and then also provide any information of how folks can identify or reach you. So if you have a website or a web page or email address, if you can give that information in your opening statement. So we're going to start first with our Secretary of State, Paul Pate. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and thank the League for doing this. It's a pretty exciting time. We're down to roughly over 34 days, I think. I'm going to keep track of all these things from Election Day. Our goal as election officials is to provide you with every opportunity and resource to be successful in being a voter. I like to encourage our citizens to put together a plan, a vote plan, if you will, so they'll be successful. And you start with the first step, and that's make sure you're registered. And if you are already registered, great. But for those of you who maybe have not, or perhaps you've moved or changed your polling location, I want to make sure you know how to do that. And you can do it online by going to voterready.iowa.gov. And with your driver's license, you can proceed to do that. Otherwise, you can print out a registration form and send it into your county auditor and do the same should you not have an Iowa driver's license. And they'll outline the requirements for that. And of course, the next step is for those of you looking at your choices and options. You can vote absentee, you can vote in person, early at the courthouse, and of course, you can vote on the traditional election day. So Iowans like choices. So I want to make sure you have that plan and you know all the details, and perhaps that's a big part of what today's panel is about. We can make sure you have all those details so you'll be successful come this election. Iowa's got a great track record. We're in the top 10 in the country when it comes to voter participation and registration. Clearly, we want to be #1 at everything in Iowa, so we're going to keep working to do that. We've seen great voter participation in the primary this year. We had a record turnout across the board. All age groups moved up, if you will, in their participation levels. And I think with the COVID challenge, we know we have to take a different approach to offer people that opportunity to make sure they're comfortable with what option they take to vote, to be safe, if you will. And that's what we're doing here in Iowa. And today we'll make sure we give you the information to do just that and to assure you the transparency and the integrity of the process. So thank you for letting me spend some time with you.
Thank you, Secretary of State. Next, we are going to move to our county auditor. We're going to start with Blackhawk County, Grant Veeder. Hi, we can't hear you.
Well, he isn't muted. I'll send him a chat message. Maybe I should call him again. Hi, everyone. Sorry if the tech isn't working. I think by tech, he means generically, not specifically me. Not that I am working, of course. I don't mean Mike. Oh, he says, oh, you can all read that. I don't need to read it to you. Never mind.
Okay.
Well, is somebody else ready to talk?
Well, here, let's come back to Grant. Shelley Wolf from Bremer County, County Auditor. If you want to go on and give us a short statement, and then also let us know how we can reach you.
Well, I am Shelley Wolf. I'm the Bremer County Auditor. I've been in the office as auditor for about 10 years. You can reach my office at 319-352-0340. My email is swolf@co.bremer.ia.us. And the county website is co.bremer.ia.us. Is there anything else you'd like in the opening statement, or just how to reach us, or
Anything you would like to share with folks, just let us know.
Yeah.
Give us a 30-second snapshot of what your role is.
Okay, as county auditor, election administration, clerk to the board of supervisors. We sit in on all the meetings and then turn around and publish those so that everyone knows what the board of supervisors are up to in a county. We do payroll, we do human resources, we pay the county's bills, we prepare tax statements for the treasurers to collect on, and a whole lot of miscellaneous things that new hires in the office go, holy cow, you do that too. It's a busy office.
Thank you. Thank you. Grant, are you up and running?
Oh boy.
No, not yet. Okay, we're gonna move on. We'll come back. I promise to come back. Vicki Brown, who is the chair of the Democrat Party here in Black Hawk County. Do you want to give an opening remarks and how folks can reach you? I can't hear you either. You're mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, very good. Good afternoon, everyone. I thank you all so much for being here and participating in this very, very important panel discussion that we are about to have. My name is Vicki Brown. I am chair of the Black Hawk County Democrats, going into almost my third year as chair. You can contact us if you need to at our website, which is info@blackhawkdemocrats.com. You can also contact us on Twitter at BlackHawkDems. And we also have a Facebook page that's dedicated to the Black Hawk County Democrats, blackhawkdemocrats.com. If you need to contact us, you can call us at area code 319-236-2992. I'm very proud to be serving as chair of the Black Hawk County Democrats. And we also are one of a very medical offices located in the 99 counties in the state that has a year-round office. We are located at 307 East 4th Street, Waterloo, Iowa, 50703. Although currently we are closed because of since the pandemic, and we do faithfully follow the guidelines that are issued by the CDC, the Iowa Department of Health, and also the Black Hawk County Health Department. So I know there's a lot of people that's wondering why our office is not open. Like I said, we truly believe in COVID. We know that it is real. So it's for your protection as well as mine. However, I am here, a dedicated servant. I am here 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, from 11 a.m.
Vicki?
until 7 p.m. and beyond. So if anybody needs yard signs, if anybody has any questions about voting, about getting your rights back, absentee ballot requests, just fill out a voter registration form, anything else, I am here for that. I do require that you wear a face covering. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think there's just some problems with the audio, but we were able to hear. Oh, you're back. You're back. Okay. We also have joining us Leanne Saul, who is the chair of the Republican Party. Leanne, would you give us a couple minutes statement and how folks can reach you?
Absolutely. Thank you. Privileged to be here. Thank you for asking me. Leanne Saul, I'm chair of the BlackHawk County Republicans. We have our office at 910 Decathlon Drive in Waterloo, and we also are a year-round office. Now, our hours vary during seasons. Right now, we're open Monday through Thursday, noon till 8, and Saturdays 10 to 3. We are available for yard signs and registration and just helping out in general all of our candidates. I have only been chair a year, so this is new for me and I'm still learning, so be patient. I have appreciated getting to know the people in the auditor's office and learning more about the election process, and I'm excited for this year's election, even though it's different. So thank you very much. You can reach us at 319-233-2183. We have a Facebook page. It's www.blackhawkgop.com. We have a Facebook page, Republicans of Blackhawk County. And you can reach me at chair@blackhawkgop.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Grant, I see you back up. Do you have volume this time? No, still don't. Okay, we'll try again. Therese Grant, who is the president of League of Women Voter Iowa, please give us a couple-minute opening and let us know how folks can reach you.
Yes, I'm currently the president of the League of Women Voters of Iowa, and I would imagine that most of you realize that the League was founded 100 years ago, about the same time that women got the right to vote. The League was formed, and for 100 years then, the League has worked very hard to make sure that not only women, but that everyone has the opportunity to vote safe and securely. The local leagues actually do most of the legwork for us, like the one here, BlackHawk-Bremer. They're the ones who actually do most of the registering of voters, educating voters on the process, as well as educating voters on candidates. Now, the pandemic has created some problems this year. We can't do things the way we always used to do. You know, being able to register voters at many events has been impossible since we're not meeting in person anymore. So leagues have got to be creative, doing things perhaps outside in parks, in front of buildings and stores. The Des Moines Metro League, maybe if you realize that they have a voter mobile that they take around the city of Des Moines, and they're registering voters that way. And also candidate forums also have to be virtual like this. And so a lot of changes this year, but I think, you know, we're getting the work done. The League is starting a media campaign next week that will be on radio and on Iowa Public Television. So that's pretty exciting for us. And if you need to contact me, my email address is tag.lwvia@gmail.com. My phone is 641-990-4684. You can also reach me by going to our website at lwvia.org. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to try one more time. Grant, are you able to dial in?
Grant is going to try coming in using his smartphone.
Okay. So we'll just hold for just a couple seconds
Well,
to see if
yeah.
we can get it.
I just checked, and we have 19 Facebook viewers right now. So
Great. Hello, everyone joining us. If you missed the intro, this is the League of Women Voters for Blackhawk County and Bremer County doing a vote panel for you guys. We are going to try to dispel some of the myths and try to get everyone to the polls that want to go to the polls and make sure that you have the right information to do that. So earlier we had Secretary of State Paul Pate introduce himself, who represents the state of Iowa. We also had our county auditor for Bremer County, Shelley Wolf. We're waiting for Grant Veter to join us from Blackhawk County. We had our two chairs, Vicki Brown and Leanne Saul, representing the Democrat and Republican Party. And then we also had Therese Grant, who is the president of League of Women.
Hey, there's Grant Peter.
So-
Supposing somebody on Facebook wants to ask a question, how should they do that?
They can type it in the question. And do you have access to those questions?
Into the comment. And somebody like Sherry is watching that, and she'll
Yep.
see those comments with the questions, and then we'll forward them probably to you, I would guess.
That's correct.
Or she
And I'll be
might ask
waiting.
them herself.
Okay.
Oh, Grant. Okay, I'm gonna sort of leave you for a little bit while I try to get something beamed over to Grant.
Okay. So,
Hmm.
well, Secretary Pate, let me ask you a question while we're waiting for Grant Veter to come on if you have a second.
Sure.
Congratulations on Iowa increasing our numbers for the primary. Can you tell us what that looked like? What was the increase? I know you said it was increase for all the demographics. Can you give us a little bit more information about that?
Well, we saw a significant increase in the absentee side. And of course, it's a little more challenging because that's the Republican and Democrats who are the ones who are going to be active in that. So the no parties are kind of more observers. But even with that in consideration, we saw a huge increase in both voter registration as well as the turnout for that night. We saw over 50,000 new voter registrations come in during that period, which I think speaks well for the fact that people are still registering and still wanting to be involved in the voter process as we go forward. But what we were seeing here was a significant uptick in our younger voters. They increased up to nearly 10%, which is, again, not high enough, but it's higher than they've ever done before in a primary. We saw amongst our seniors, which is our higher voting population, significant increase. We had, I'm looking here to make sure I give you the right number. Boom, boom, boom. In 2016, we had 80% of all Iowans 50 and older who voted. And statewide, our percentage was 71% in 2016. We saw about an 80% turnout when you look at the Republican and Democrats in the primary. Adding in the no party, we're anticipating much higher as we go forward. And I'll get you the numbers here shortly. I've got too many stacks up here and I can't find the stats. But what we did see was both Republican and Democrats raised significantly. We saw a big jump in 2016 as well. The voting absentee is probably the trend people are watching right now, and that's the number that's going up from normal. I mean, the primary alone, when you saw the response there, I think we can easily count on seeing 60 to as high as 80% of the voters voting this fall will be in the absentee category probably. And I think you can ask my colleagues there, the county auditors, what they're seeing right now in their county, and they'll probably tell you the same thing.
Thank you, Secretary. Grant, do we have you? I see
Testing.
two images.
Can you hear me?
Gotcha.
We can.
All right.
Wow. Well, I switched to my telephone. Sorry about all the delays. Fortunately, Shelley Wolf and Secretary Pate covered most of the stuff about what county auditors do. I will say, as far as our contact information, you can reach us at the election office phone number is 319-833-3007. And the email address is elections@black-hawk.ia.us. Sorry, Secretary Pate, we're working on getting a new domain name. We don't have it quite yet. Anyway, we have a lot of information that we've been putting out as this election has gone forward regarding voter registration, absentee ballots, and all the things going along with that. So we put news releases out, probably one every week at least, and we put those up on our website along with sending them out to the press, and put them on Facebook and Twitter at BHC Auditor. So like I say, they've covered most of the things that we're doing. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer.
Thank you, Grant. Thank you. I want to start off maybe with the elephant in the room, but if anybody watched any debate last night or just any clips of the news today, there's a big conversation about voter fraud. Secretary, could you just talk to Iowans about how secure our elections are here in Iowa, and do we have a reason to be concerned about fraud?
Well, I understand why people want to be concerned about it. It's a very important responsibility that we carry in our state and our country when we're looking at selecting our elected officials. In Iowa, I would tell you that you should be confident in what we have here. We have a great system. We have a good track record. We offer transparency, and we have all types of safety measures in place at every step of the way. You look at everything the auditors do, it's done with on teams, both Republican and Democrats there to secure that facet of the integrity. We have voter ID, which is a key factor to make sure only the person who should be voting is voting. We have post-election audits. We were the first state to do IMB codes, which is a barcode that's on the voter's envelope when they mail their ballot back. So we know exactly what day you put it into a postal system. So we don't have to count on the old-fashioned postmarks, if you will. So we'll know that. We're one of the few states that offers the online tracking. You can go right now online to our Secretary of State website and check to see when your absentee ballot request was received by the county. It will also show when the county sends you your absentee ballot, and it will show when they receive it back, when you send it to them. Those are the kind of measures we put in place to make sure it's there. On-site voting, again, the measures are there. You have Republican, Democrats, your neighbors working the polling site who've been trained and prepped by the county auditors, who go through a series of safety and security measures when you're coming in to vote to, again, assure that you are the voter and to make sure you're only voting one time. So if there's some confusion about, did I get an absentee ballot and now I want to go vote in person, you only get one shot at it, but we do give you some choices. So those are the measures we have in Iowa. I'd like to say all 50 states have all those. Some aren't the same. And there's also some confusion, frankly, between these all mail states, and I mean by mailing, everybody gets a ballot mailed to them unsolicited, versus absentee, where in this case, you, the voter, request the ballot. That's the controversial topic, if you will, in the political arenas. But I'm going to speak to what Iowa does, and I can tell you the absentee program we have here is very secure, and I have a lot of confidence in the election teams at the county level, and I have confidence in the postal system.
Thank you. And let me ask you one follow-up question to that. Do you know how many voter fraud cases have been prosecuted in Iowa, maybe in the last 5 or the last couple of elections? Do you have that information just generally?
I can make it available to you. I don't have it off the top of my head. We usually run through quite a few at the end of an election cycle that the county auditors might turn over to the county attorneys to explore and find out. Most of those, the auditors and the county attorney will decide whether they want to prosecute. I should say, I'm fair about that. The county attorney gets to choose whether or not they're going to prosecute them or not. The biggest issues we run into probably is people that might be voting in 2 states, or people who are voting for a relative or somebody they shouldn't be voting for. And, but we do not have any massive organized voter fraud in the state of Iowa. I don't believe that. I do believe, though, there are some people out there who do stupid things, and those are illegal. And when we have close elections, those votes make a difference. We've had elections, and again, some of the auditors can talk about it, where they're ties and they have to flip a coin to decide who the winner is. We have many, many legislative races that are won and lost by less than 50 votes. So yeah, it gets close. In fact, it wasn't that long ago, we had an election up in Northeast Iowa that we were all kind of checking every ballot over again in the counties that was impacted to make sure we knew who the winner was. So we take the integrity portion pretty seriously.
Thank you. It sounds like there are a lot of checks and balances in that process.
Yep.
Let me go to the county auditors. The secretary mentioned that there's going to be an increase, looking at about 70 to 80% of folks voting by absentee ballot. What do you think the capacity is for your offices to handle that? Grant, we'll start with you.
Well, we are planning on it. We're planning for it. We have had large numbers of absentee ballots in the past. I believe our high water mark was 2012, when we had over 30,000 requests, but we actually had under 30,000 ballots returned. A lot of times people will change their mind about voting absentee. I think we may see less of that this year, because rather than getting absentee request forms thrust at them by people going door to door, people are requesting those more of their own volition. And so I think there's a greater chance that some of them are going to vote their absentee ballots. But we already have about 29,000 ballots requested with a month to go. So we know we're going to break our record. We were one of the counties that kind of petitioned the secretary to make a change by emergency directive to allow us to start opening the ballots on the Saturday before the election. The law says that we can start opening and counting ballots on the Monday before the election. But due to the greater volume and attempts to try to do as much social distancing as possible, not have too many people working on it, we wanted to get a head start on it, and the secretary was successful in getting that approved by the Legislative Council. So we are cautiously optimistic that we'll be able to handle the greater number of ballots.
And so that means when the Saturday before the election, you're allowed to open them. What
Right.
does that process look like? Can you explain just a snapshot
Okay.
for folks who don't know
When
the
you-
process?
Sure. When you get an absentee ballot in the mail, you're going to get a ballot, a secrecy sleeve, a return envelope, and a sheet of instructions. And the instructions will tell you everything you need to do. But basically what you need to do is vote the ballot, put it in the secrecy sleeve, and then put the secrecy sleeve in the return envelope. Then make sure you seal that and sign it. Otherwise, it can't be counted. So when we get all those ballots, thousands and thousands of ballots in those return envelopes, we keep them locked up in storage until the time when we may open them. And then all of the ballot return envelopes are opened and the ballots are removed, but still inside their secrecy sleeves. And so those are all kept separate. It's a secrecy sleeve because it's to keep anybody from seeing how you voted. Trust me, when you have 30,000 absentee ballots to process, nobody's looking to see how their neighbor voted. But this is another one of those steps that's taken to make sure that everybody is sure that the process is on the up and up. Those ballots are then stacked up inside their secrecy sleeves, and that they aren't removed from the secrecy sleeves until they've all been set aside outside of their return envelopes.
Thank you. And then Shelley, what about you and Bremer in terms of capacity? Do you think you'll be
Sorry.
ready to handle the increased amount of
Yeah.
absentee ballots?
Yeah, unfortunately, the increase in numbers in May got me alerted to, hey, you know, we are going to have to plan for bigger numbers for sure this fall. So from day one, from planning, I've always been planning on as many as 17,000 absentee ballots, because that's how many active voters we have. I don't think we'll get 17,000 ballots, but Grant's office is staffed according.
Your pendant here for you. They said your pendant wasn't working earlier. There's a new one for you.
If folks, I'm sorry, Shelby, let me just ask, if you're not talking, if you can just mute your line, and then that way there's just no feedback, and then you can unmute when it's time for you to talk. Shelly, go ahead.
So my numbers don't sound very big compared to Grant's numbers, but we just staff accordingly. It's still a lot for us, and I've just planned for that from day one. Our vault is definitely going to be full to its capacity this fall, but I'm prepared.
And so with the new process that has been outlined for us just a moment ago with Grant and the secretary laying everything out, will all the votes then be able to be counted on election day or by election day if they come in absentee?
That's correct. We can do all the opening from Saturday through Monday, but we can't run them through our tally machines until on election day. So nothing can go through a scanner until election day. That's correct, right, Grant and Paul?
Yes.
I believe that's actually changed now. It was for a while that if you had a certain, if you went beyond 10 o'clock and you're voting, you're supposed to have all of your absentee ballots counted by 10 p.m. on election night. And it seems to me that the law used to be that if you went past that in the last general, that the next general, you could start counting ballots on Monday. And then I think the law changed to make it even more flexible for everybody to start on Monday. I can check that quickly, but we have been starting counting on Monday for several years now. But then please understand that just because we are putting those through a tabulator, we are not getting any results. It's illegal to produce any results until after the polls are closed.
Thank you for that, Grant. And
if I can underscore something real quickly, the biggest time component is handling these openings of these envelopes. If you can think about it, you as a voter, you know, you're voting, you're putting it in your privacy or secrecy envelope, and you're sticking inside the envelope. By letting the auditor's offices start by opening those outer envelopes and getting that out, secrecy folder out, if you will, and get those stacked. Now, when they're allowed to technically start counting, it's just a matter of literally just taking that ballot out and running it through the feeding machine, which really speeds the process up in fairness. And the larger counties, and Grant, I don't know, I'm not sure what your system is, but most of the larger counties have the bigger counting systems, machines that can go very quickly. What is it, 1,000 an hour or more? What is it up in BlackHawk?
I think it's more than that. I really,
okay.
I can't
off
the top of my head.
It's pretty quick.
We take them out of the sleeve and we put them in a big pile, you know, you can stack them up and make sure they're all straight, and then you load them like that rather than putting them in one at a time, which is what we used to do before we got this central counter machine.
I guess I want to underscore to the folks who are joining us on this that I'm comfortable with the feedback I've gotten from the county auditors that we will have the preliminary count, and I'm underscoring that, preliminary count on election night. We never have given any final election results on election night because the process is not over. The counties are still taking in some of the ballots that might be coming through the mail. But again, as I mentioned, we have the IMB code, so we know that they're mailed under the legal timetable, but you have to allow time for that. There'll be provisional ballots that the auditors will be reviewing to make sure those can be factored in and counted in the process as well. And then the auditors' offices will, with their teams there, will be doing the canvas. And when that is completed, they will be presenting that to their board of supervisors. When that is completed, they'll be sending that information on to the state, and we will repeat the process on a state level. And in between all that, we're doing post-election audits. So I know everybody wants to hear election night results. Who is the next senator, the governor, the legislator, et cetera. And I can say as a candidate myself, you're darn right, I want to know too. But we'll give you the preliminary results, but you're not going to be able to have the final ones for a few more days. But I don't see anybody going to, if they want to stay up with us, we'll have it done election night. I'm pretty confident. I've got all the auditors' personal cell phone numbers, so we're all going to be up talking until we get it done.
Thank you, Secretary, for that. Let me switch topics quickly and talk about one of the new opportunities for people in Iowa to vote, returning voters. If you had a felony before, you're able to register to vote this year in this election. Secretary, can you give us just a background on that for the folks listening?
Sure. About a month ago, the governor signed an executive proclamation giving the certain felons the ability to be able to get their voting rights and privileges returned. And that upon her signature, it started. And our office has been working with various outreach groups, including the Legal and Voters and others, to try and find out what we should be doing to make this process go smoothly. We have put a new update on our website for those people looking for more information on the felons, and we'll be unveiling even more of that here within the next week for folks wanting to know just, how does it impact me? Do I qualify? What do I need to do? That's being done. The Voter Registration Commission, we're setting up a meeting for them to approve a new voter registration forms that reflect some of the things that were brought up about the felon issue and how we might make that form more user-friendly, or at least not be quite as imposing on people to make them concerned that they don't want to fill it out because they're not sure about some things. That's being done. And I think the biggest thing is what we're doing here on this panel is telling these felons where they go for information. And the best source I can tell them is they can go to the governor's website or the voterreadyiowa.gov site I mentioned. They will also be able to probably go to several groups. I'm sure the Legal Women Voters and others are going to be putting information out there. I'll let them speak to that. We will, the point department is probably going to be Department of Corrections, because they're the ones that give us all the information, to make sure we're getting the right names and getting that information out there. We provide a list to all the county auditors. We call it the felon list. In the past, that list has been less than ideal because we've had a lot of bad information put in there, very confusing. I spent the last, 6 months or more with putting resources behind having all the names individually reviewed and all their cases reviewed, and trying to put that into a list format. We've asked the corrections and the judicial folks to have input on it. We shared a lot of that with the auditors as well. They'll have that list before the election day as a backup, but it doesn't stop. And I underscore this, if we're not going to stop anybody, if they believe they should be voting and they've done their homework, when they go to the county auditor's office, the auditors are not felon police. They're not there to try and decide or tell you yes or no whether you can vote. They're there to help you be successful in voting. Determining whether or not you're eligible, you should really reach out both to the governor's site and to our site, and let us try to help you out on that front before election day. It's back to my vote plan I told you about, have a plan to vote. For those of you on the felon category, because this is a new thing and it's changed, let's do your homework now and get your questions answered so you won't be worried about that come election day, or if you want to vote absentee. Long answer, I apologize, but this is a very complicated thing that has just kind of gotten out of control over the years, and it's taken us a while to try to put it back on track.
Thank you for that. Quickly, for the folks on the panel, if you don't mind going to the chat section and putting in your contact information, that way people will have access to it. That would be great for us. And thank you, Secretary. And you made a good point about the other folks out there helping register these folks. And that is a great segue. I'm going to reach out to our chair to our parties here, Vicki and Leanne, and ask you both, what are you doing to register folks? And I'll start with you, Vicki.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so I've been having a few problems with the transmission, so hopefully everyone can hear me. We have actually been working with various nonprofit and bipartisan organizations, civic organizations on voter education, voter registration. For example, we've partnered with various graduate chapters and fraternities and sororities, NAACP. We've worked alongside the League of Women Voters, the Hawkeye student organizations, also to name a few, the UNI student organizations. Our aim is to actually ensure as many residents in the Cedar Valley and the county as possible understand the election process. So we're out there answering questions. I also participate in several community outreach events to help make sure that every resident knows that whether they're eligible to vote, get them registered to vote, explain to them how to cast their ballot, making certain that they're comfortable with the absentee ballot process, because there were a lot of questions regarding that. I also work with those who want to learn how to restore their voting rights, and with the college students who may need help trying to understand the absentee ballot process. So that's a lot of what we've been doing.
Thank you so much. Leanne?
Hi, thank you. We have also been working with various groups in education and doing voter registration. We also have done a lot of phone calling, and a lot of our candidates, when they are doing voter contact, are registering people. We're probably not as good at it as the Democrats are, so thanks for giving me all your tips, Vicki.
Thank you. And Therese Grant, can you
You're
explain what the league is
very
doing?
welcome.
Therese?
Yes.
Yep. Can you explain what the league is doing to help register new voters?
Oh, sure. Like I said, this work is done by the local leagues, and you know, they're going to a lot of different events. I do know that, for example, in Ames, where they have a lot of students at Iowa State, they have packets with registration materials in them for register voters, absentee ballot request forms. I think even their packet, I think they've even included a mask for the students. I mentioned the voter mobile in Des Moines that goes around Des Moines on the weekends where they are registering voters. You know, and we have 11 different local leagues, and they each have their own way of doing things. You know, if they go outside of sometimes a supermarket, a Walmart, they set up a table and they register voters. They're anywhere and everywhere, and they're really doing their best. I do know that they're targeting not only just regular voters, I do know that they're also targeting those who have their development rights restored now, and helping those folks learn the process and know how to register to vote. So it's just done, you know, in a variety of ways. And like I said, the pandemic has made it a little bit more difficult, but I think the leagues are being very successful in doing their job this year.
Thank you. I want to go back to the secretary. Secretary, there was a question that came in, and it states, you mentioned the barcodes put in place to know exactly when the post office receives the ballot. But in 2018, there was a controversy regarding those codes not being used by the post office on several ballots during a close state legislative election. Can you speak to whether that system has changed and whether each ballot sent through the mail will indeed receive a code?
I think they're mixing apples and oranges here a little bit. There was a case in, again, Northeast Iowa, we had a legislative race, and they're referring to what some were calling an orange code, because sometimes the envelopes would have that on there. The barcode is something we just passed legislation for and have implemented statewide. All 99 county auditors are going to be doing that. and are doing that, I should say. So everybody has it, okay? So everybody has it. The case that they're referring to, not at that time, no, not every county did it. I think there was only a few in the state who did it. And unfortunately, the counties involved in the case, that they did not at that time.
Thank you. There was another issue that was brought up in regard to the felons being able to vote, and it says that there are certain felons. Who is excluded? Who is included? I know if we can just be a little clear for folks listening.
I would encourage you to go to our website or the governor's, and it spells it out. I'm not an attorney, and that's why I said this is not a clear issue as far as, not all felons are given their voting rights back. There are some certain cases that will not be, and it's spelled out there very clearly, I think, and that would be that's my suggestion, rather than I guess getting myself in trouble here right now on the panel and trying to say who is and isn't. Would just probably wouldn't do justice to the felons or folks out there who want to know. So please go to that website, and it's pretty clear.
Can we get that website one more time then, since we're talking about that?
Yeah, voterready.iowa.gov. That's all spelled out. Voterready, one word, .iowa, IOWA.gov. And as soon as I have a chance, I'll type it in on the chat room for you. All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me talk to the auditors. Earlier today, I saw a tweet from our Attorney General talking about intimidation at the polls. And let's talk about poll watchers. So let's start with Bremer County. Shelley, can you talk about what it takes to be a poll watcher in Bremer County?
To be a poll watcher, you just have to have a connection with a candidate or a political affiliation, and you fill out a form and present yourself as being a poll watcher. There's a poll watcher poster in each polling place that gives direction to poll watchers, letting them know that they cannot interfere with the process. They can't disrupt the polling place. They can't have conversations with the poll workers while they're there working. So literally they have an area in a polling place where they can just observe, and then we instruct our poll workers to about once an hour print a report out and give it to them so that they've got a list of who the voters have been who have gone through. That way the poll watchers don't have to go ask for that. It's just given to them on a regular basis so they can keep an eye on things.
Okay. And so in the actual space where you're voting, there are poll watchers and poll workers. And the poll workers are brought in by the county auditor's office, is that right?
Correct. We hire and train the poll workers.
And how does one become a poll worker?
Well, we, by word of mouth mostly, we ask people, do cold calling. We have some stop in and offer their services. Current poll workers give us names of other poll workers. The Secretary of State this year has started doing some campaigns, and we have gotten just a great response. A lot of people offering to become a poll worker. We bring them into training and learn their skills in training so that we know which duties to assign them to. But so there's many different ways to become one, but we're happy to put them all to work.
Thank you. And Grant, if somebody is voting and they feel intimidated, who should they reach out to?
If they're at the polls and they feel intimidated, they should talk to the precinct workers. The precinct workers, we seldom see it go to this point, but they have the power to order arrest if somebody is acting improperly at the polls. If somebody is intimidating voters, the poll watchers, the poll workers can call the police and have them come and see what's going on. Like I say, these are not typical circumstances. But sometimes people do feel intimidated at the polls, and often if the precinct worker just talks to the person involved or the people involved, they can usually straighten things out. And it doesn't escalate to the point of calling the police.
And are these folks identified once you walk into your voter space? Who is who? If they're a poll worker, if they're a poll watcher, how do folks know?
The poll workers in our county will have badges or name tags. It doesn't have their names on it. It just says that they're precinct officials. The poll watchers, we ask to have identification with them. They don't, as far as I know, usually have outward sign that they're poll watchers, but we ask them to take identification to present to the precinct workers. And let me just throw in that there are 3 from each party allowed at each precinct.
If I could interject for a brief moment on this, I encourage the political parties to have letters indicating those individuals are poll watchers, that they're them and bring to the polling sites. It takes some confusion out where, how should I say it nicely, we have some enthusiastic people from certain parties who think that they can come down and be a poll watcher. And that takes a lot of the pressure off the official poll workers as well. I don't know how you, Shelley or Grant, look at that, but I think it helps.
Yeshi?
Yes.
To go back to an earlier question, Mr. Secretary, I was able to pull out the executive order by the governor about restoring rights. And as far as who's included and excluded, it says that everyone who forfeited their rights gets them restored, except for a violation of Chapter 707 of the code. And that's the chapter on murders. So there are, murder isn't the best word. I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, causing the death of somebody. And so there are different levels of that. Any one of them that is a felony, that's a person whose rights are not automatically restored, and they still have to go through the process of asking the governor for the restoration of rights.
Thank you, Grant, for that. The secretary and the county auditors mentioned that these poll watchers are party affiliated. So Leanne, how does somebody become a poll watcher if they are Republican? How can they reach out to you? What's the process?
Yes, they can reach out to us, but actually we recruit with our central committee members. We recruit poll watchers, and then we go through training. They have to go through an hour and a half of training with us. We do give them a badge that says that they are a Republican poll watcher, not a worker. So we do work with them quite extensively, going over what the do's and the don'ts are and how to behave, what to look for, and what to be, how to present themselves.
Thank you. Vicki, what about the Democrat Party? How do you obtain poll watchers?
Actually, we've never had poll watchers. We've only had poll workers. And I guess this is something that I would actually reach out to the elections office to see how we would go about doing that. I've heard so many things about people being poll watchers and who's going to be poll watchers. So this is something that we really are going to have to get more information on. Now, so for the poll workers, we've always had those, but once again, poll watchers, we've never had poll watchers since I've been chair, and I think probably before.
There were poll watchers years ago from the Democrats.
I hate to interrupt again, but I'm going to again be very blunt and say that I've appealed to both the Republican and Democrat Party of Iowa and to the county Republican and Democrat chairs to put a stronger focus on helping the county auditors recruit and identify enough precinct poll workers. So we have enough folks to staff all the sites, particularly with the COVID challenges and the fact we just need to have those resources on a regular basis. And it's been an ongoing challenge counties have faced for some time. Our poll workers are aging out and we need to reinvest in that area. And quite frankly, I can't think of a better way for both political parties to feel even better about the process, because then they are being a part of it. They are going through the training. They understand exactly what we're doing. It's much more transparent, and you're on the other side of that tape, if you will, or that table, because now you know why they do certain things with the ballot. So they understand how we have checks and balances, and it assures the political parties that they have that balance. That's a big issue. Counties tend to lean one way or the other. If a county is more Democrat leaning or Republican leaning, they tend to have those folks step up pretty quickly. But when the other party doesn't have those people bringing themselves available to be of service, it makes it a real challenge for auditors. And we're still facing that. We need over 10,000 poll workers across the state. We've been successful in identifying about almost 10,000 now who have an interest, but we need to get them in all 99 counties, not just a select few. So our recruiting isn't done on that front, and the clock's ticking down. So that's my message to my two county chairs who are on here. We really like them to help as poll workers, and they get paid for that. So there's a dividend there as well. So there's my little plug for the day.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Vicki. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we have had an overwhelming response to poll workers. And I think at this time, and Grant can speak to this, we have an astronomical amount of poll workers, and not just some of the older people. And I shouldn't say that. When I say older, I mean some of the more experienced poll workers. We have some of the college students who have stepped up, and so right now we have an overwhelming amount. And like I said, I'll let Grant speak to that, but I would also like to hear from Grant and Paul regarding the poll watchers. Could you please tell me what that's going to look like? Because we're hearing all sorts of things about poll watchers. Who can be poll watchers? What are they watching for? Will they have credentials to be there? How will they be identified? Because right now, and I hear from a lot of people, they're already intimidated about the notion of having poll watchers and wanting to know who they are. So I know that was two separate things that I spoke on, but thank you if you can answer either one of those. I mean, answer that about the poll watchers.
I'll answer if you'd like, Vicki and Yeshi. For your first question, that's correct. We have had a great outpouring of people volunteering to be poll workers, and a lot of that is through the help of the Secretary of State's office. We really appreciate the statewide campaign that his office has done. And I'm not sure if we're fully loaded yet or not, but last time I checked in the election office, we were still short some Republican precinct workers. And so, Leanne, I think I mentioned that to you the other day, and anything you can do to help with that would be appreciated. To address Vicki's question about poll watchers, this is a common occurrence. And we, like I said before, we ask that they have credentials, like a letter from the county party saying, I am approved to be a poll watcher. And those people, things change over time, and I'm not always up with the times of everything that's happening out at the polling places. But my recollection is that there are people that are there most of the day. Oftentimes they change during the day. Somebody comes in for a few hours, somebody relieves them, and they do a number of things. Mostly they sit and watch, but they can keep track of who has voted so that if they need to try to get other people from their party to the polls that haven't voted yet, they'll have the list of names for that. And they can challenge voters if they think that they are not eligible to vote. And that's, there are some specifics on that. I believe it has to be in writing, and it has to be for a specific voter. It can't just be a blanket. I don't think that anybody coming to the polls today or whatever. And I'm sorry, I don't have more specifics on that, but maybe Shelley or Secretary Pate can help me out with that.
Let me add, I guess, a couple of quick things there. If you go to our website, we do have a guidebook and training materials for poll watchers. They can read that before Election Day on our website. That helps a lot, I think. And you're right. They look at eligibility slips or voter rosters. They can write down the names of people that have or have not voted. They can challenge a voter's qualifications. They can report perceived problems in that precinct to the county auditor. I just would kind of qualify this or say to those poll watchers, let's do it in a professional manner with some courtesy, because the poll workers are there to run the election that day. And if an issue comes up, we want to bring it to the auditor's attention as quickly as we can and let the auditor handle it if that's something we have to work on. And if I take a quick segue back, I was trying to get a little more information on this felon issue. I appreciate Grant sharing some of that with you. And what my staff is sharing with me, if an individual has completed all terms of their confinement, their parole, their probation, any other supervised or special sentence, they have had their rights restored by the Executive Order number 7. There is an exception, as Grant was mentioning, for individuals that are convicted of homicide crimes who still must apply for restoration on an individual basis. So that's kind of the short version on the felon issue.
Secretary Pate,
Yeah.
can I ask one more question on that? The one thing that I think, especially due to the experience on this issue in other states, that should be made clear, as I understand it, if there are outstanding fines, that does not keep somebody from having their rights restored. Is that correct?
I will check on that one. I think you're right, Grant, but let me verify it, because again, if it's part of their parole or probation, that might in fact impact it. But I believe you're correct that the fines are not going to restrict them from being voters. I'm pretty sure you're right on that.
Habibi? May I
Yes, go ahead.
ask? I just want to make one comment. Typically, most of the issues any of our poll watchers have ever had was with same day registration, voter registration, and proof of identity, and people not understanding what they need to bring to the poll to prove their residency. I think that has been the main issue with any challenges. So,
All right,
just
well,
for Vicky's information.
yeah, let's solve that then. Same day voter registration, is that allowed here in Iowa?
Yes.
Okay, and what do you need to register?
Well, the easiest is if you have an Iowa driver's license that has your current address. That's the quickest, or Iowa non-operator's identification. The other ones that are available to you is you can use other forms of ID. It gets a little more complicated. This is not a new law. If you don't have an Iowa driver's license, let's say you have an Indiana one, you can use that to prove you are who you say you are. Then you need to prove your residency. And that falls under things like a bank statement, something of a legal document indicating your address on it. And we even allow you to do that electronically, so you don't have to have a paper one. Some of us get our bank statements now electronically, so you can just use that. You just need to be able to prove an address that you have residency in the jurisdiction you want to vote in, and some kind of picture ID. It says, I am who I am. Those are all the two key ones.
And what if they're students? How does that work if they are university students?
We've worked it with the colleges and universities. If you live in a dorm, to the best of my knowledge, all the major universities and colleges now are providing the students with a proof of their residency in that dorm. So that, again, they'll have that, and most of them will keep it on their telephone. Then they still have to have, whether it's Indiana, Iowa, Illinois, some kind of driver's license, some kind of form of proof that they are who they say they are. They can use a military ID for that matter if they have that. We're looking for some kind of government, a passport. I try to name them all off. Shelley and Grant, you want to jump in, go ahead.
Well, I called up the page on our website that talks about this. And like you said, if you have a driver's license with your name on it, then that establishes both your residency and your identity. But if it just has your picture and doesn't have your current address, then it's only establishing your identity. So you have to have something else to show your residency, and among those things, and I don't know if you want to say among those because they're pretty strict about what is allowed: a residential lease, a property tax statement, a utility bill, a bank statement, a paycheck, a government check, or another government document. And electronic documents, as the secretary said, are acceptable now. They have to be dated within, I think, 30 days of the election, if it's like a bill or a lease or something like that. As you can see, this is not the best way to go to the polls on election day, to have some kind of identification that may not be easy to get. So please encourage everyone you know who is not registered to register by October 24th. That's the deadline for pre-registration. That gets your name with the proper address on your list at the polling place. My phone's dying, so I hope you can still hear me.
We can.
Okay, so that I would really want to push that. Get registered ahead of time. Don't get stuck in the situation like Leanne was pointing out, wondering if you have the right identification at the polling place.
And do you need an ID to vote?
Yes.
Do you just want to?
Driver's license is the best form. That's considered your voter identification card. If you don't have a driver's license, then you should have been provided with an identification card when you registered to vote. And then you would present that.
If folks have registered by that October 24th date, will they get a card in time by election?
Yes, they will. But once again, their driver's license, if they have a driver's license, that's what they should take with them.
Okay, great.
And if you're registered and you're on the list, you don't have to have your current address on your driver's license. You just have to have your picture and identify you. You're already on the list. You're ready to go.
Great. Thank you. Let me ask Therese, how has the pandemic altered the work of the League of Women Voters facilitating preparing citizens for election?
Say that question again, please.
Yep. How has the pandemic impacted the League of Women Voters preparing voters for the election? Or has it?
Well, I mean, this year, I mean, there have been a lot of things that I think have, I think maybe we've touched on as far as, voters are unsure about things. And so I think the league is probably playing a big role in helping folks understand, and know the important dates, as far as, when to get your absentee ballot in, what's the date that I'll be receiving my my absentee ballot and the request. And then, like we were talking about a little bit ago, the dates as far as, when all those things should be done. And then, where can I vote? When do I vote? It was interesting. I know that in some counties it's different. For example, I live in Poweshiek County, and there are no early polling places in Poweshiek County. However, there are early polling places in other places. So wherever you are, then the leagues are making sure that folks know where can they go to vote early if they want to. And then, the process as far as, absentee, and then on the November 3rd. And then they also need to know that they can also vote in person anywhere at the auditor's office anytime between now and the elections. They can go and vote in person. So just educating the voters, knowing, because there's been a lot of confusion. In fact, one confusion that we're encountering, people are wondering, why am I getting all these absentee ballot request forms? I've got one already. So what do I do? Do I send them all in? And I do know that the auditors are working with that issue, getting all kinds of calls as far as, do I mail in 1, 2, 3? How many? How many do you get? How many do you want? So just all the confusion, I think, around this election, the league is trying to, let people know, the hows, whens, whys, and just assure people that it's safe and it's secure, and please vote. And so that's been our big role. And I think, it's a big one, because this year is different than any other year that I can remember. So
Thank you for that. There is a question, and I want to go to that one. It says, I saw a brochure from another a league that also listed sex offenders as not being eligible to vote. Is that true? Do we have any knowledge of that, or could we get an answer to that?
I think it's pretty plain if you read the order from the governor, that the only people that are accepted are from Chapter 707. And that doesn't have anything to do with sex offenders. It's just murder and I keep forgetting the right word to use there.
Right. I would agree with the interpretation that those folks have completed their sentencing on their parole and all the things that were identified, then yes, they can vote.
Thank you. And then there's another question. What is the rule about the time after expiration of a driver's license for ID uses?
I was successful in having the Iowa legislature to my emergency request to extend that. So for those of you who have expired driver's licenses, it won't stop you. That still can be used as on your ID. Clearly with COVID, nobody's getting licenses renewed because quickly. I think, in fact, someone told me the other day that they're running pretty far behind on anybody who wanted to even get in and get it done. So right now the auditors have been given the go-ahead to accept IDs that have expired, and we're going to work with that. And if you don't mind, I'm going to mention on the absentee ballot request forms. Believe me, I hear this a lot. And when I come, I'm in Des Moines on the weekend, I'm back in Cedar Rapids on the weekend. And when I come home, the first thing my wife tells me is, what are you going to do? This is my wife telling me, what are you going to do? Because people are getting frustrated because they get all these absentee ballot request forms. And it's like, look, take it as a great thing that everybody wants to encourage you to be a voter. But clearly, this is not a new thing. Campaigns and candidates have sent out absentee ballot request forms for decades. When I was a candidate for the state Senate and as a mayor, I sent out those to the people that, frankly, the people I thought would vote for me. And I think that's what the Democrat Party does and the Republican Party does. And then you have groups who do the broader audiences. The challenge is some of those groups use bad lists. They will use lists that are old, or wherever they get them, I don't know. And then you get it and you go, wait a minute, Aunt Helen passed away 7 years ago. Why would you do this? Or that person moved, or I don't even know who these are coming to this address. And for the auditors and for my office, we get blamed for it. They think we don't have a list that's accurate. And some of them will say, well, they think it's like a real ballot, like they would get one. Well, let me tell you something. If someone passed away, pretty tough to get a ballot from a county auditor. Okay, we have procedures in place. We're not going to be sending those out. That we're very, pretty concerned about that. And we try to make sure our voter registration lists are as current as can be with within the laws that we have to work on with. So I appreciate your concern about getting all these forms, but you only got to fill one out. And I'm a little biased. I think the one we sent out at Labor Day from the state is one because it's got the yellow highlights right on there. And if you fill out the areas that have the yellow highlight, the county auditor is going to take it. Some of the other mailers don't do that. And I want to assure you of total success. And I won't speak to every one of these mailers because I haven't seen them all. I think I've got at least 12 that I have seen. And I keep getting these ones saying, this is your second notice. Why haven't you done it? Your third notice. And I'm going like, I don't know who this group is. So I apologize for that, but I think it's a good thing that we're letting you know you have the option to be out there and exercise it. When we looked at 2016, we had 692,000 absentee ballot requests across the state. And as of yesterday, we have over 615,000 already in the state. And we're not even done yet by far. So we could see a new record here easily for people who are choosing during this COVID period to want to use that as an option. Iowans like choices. And we're going to make sure we give as many of those as we can to them so that they will be successful in being a voter.
Thank you. There was a comment mentioned, how about a requirement that all request forms state that you can only send in one application? And I'm throwing that out there for you, Secretary.
It won't matter.
I don't have an issue with it, but I think it's back to how much do you want to read on a form? If you look at some of these forms get pretty long, but I'm willing to consider it all. I see you, Leanne.
And may I state that a lot of the confusion comes with the elderly people and not understanding. And so it's just, you have to walk them through it and say, hey, if you send in 3, Grant's only going to count 1. Shelley's only going to enter 1. And if they try to send another one, it's already in the record, but they do get confused. So it's just, you got to be patient and just try to educate them on it and calm them down.
Thank you. Shelley and Grant, this question is for you. Bremer and BlackHawk, when does early voting start? Where do they go? Where can they find the information for that? Shelley, I'll start with you.
Voting starts on Monday, October 5th, so we're right around the corner from that. Here in Bremer County, we are doing our in-person absentee voting 2 blocks west of the courthouse. It's a big white house-looking building that used to be an eye center. It's at 124 2nd Street Northeast here in Waverly. What was the rest of the question?
Hours?
Hours, okay. Well, we put together a calendar. Most days, it's Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. But there is a Saturday that's 8 to 5, October 24th. One of them is 8 to 5 and one is 9 to 5. So we put out a calendar just because of those differences that were open on those 2 Saturdays. And then on November 2nd, the day before the election, we're also open till 5 o'clock. For voting. So we made a calendar. We've got it out in our courthouse lawn. We have them as handouts. Anybody that asks any questions, we like to hand them that calendar since there are some days that are a little bit different.
Is that information also online for folks?
I can't remember if we put that calendar up there or not, but I'm going to make a note and make sure we do get it up there. We have it listed on the website, but I think the calendar is a lot easier to look at and to find those dates. So I'm going to get that calendar up there if it's not already.
Okay, great. Just wanted to make sure if folks don't have access to the calendar yet, where they can go get it so they can come down to the county auditor's office and pick one up, or
Correct.
It'll be available online soon.
Yep.
Okay, great. And Grant, what about BlackHawk County?
There are a lot of similarities there because we are bound by law with a lot of this. And so we will start in-person absentee voting at the courthouse on Monday, October 5th. Our courthouse hours are 8 to 4:30. And like in Shelley's case, we will be open the 2 Saturdays before the election, October 24th and October 31st, we'll be open both of those dates from 8 to 5. We will also have a number of satellite locations where people can vote. And this list is on the website. I think Shelley's got a great idea of having a calendar to pass out. I think I'm going to try to do something like that. But basically, we're going to have satellite voting at the Unidome starting on Tuesday, October 6th and going through Saturday the 10th. Now, the hours are going to be different each day to try to, help people who have different schedules be able to get over there. So it's like 9 to 1 on Tuesday, 12 to 4 on Wednesday, 3 to 7 on Thursday, 9 to 1 on Friday, 10 to 2 on Saturday. So I don't expect you to remember all those, but you can go to our website and find those. There's a calendar on our general election page on the website. And then we will also have satellite voting at the Diamond Event Center at the Western Home Communities in Cedar Falls on Monday, October 12th from 10 to 2. We'll be at the Cedar Valley Sportsplex, 300 Jefferson Street, Waterloo, Saturday, October 17th from 10 to 2, and Tuesday, October 20th from 4 to 7. And also at the North Star Community Services Center, 3420 University Avenue in Waterloo, Monday, October the 19th, 10 to 2. Now, we have had many more satellites in the past. It's dealing with the pandemic is just so interesting in so many ways. We want to give people opportunities to vote, but we don't want to crowd people into areas. So we've chosen areas that, first of all, that will let us in and that can be spread out, and people won't have to be so close together at these satellite locations. There are also a couple of nights that we're going to be open later. The office will be open until 7 o'clock for voting. That will be on October 14th and October 29th.
And so for both of you, Shelley and Grant, so long as you live in the county, you can vote at any of the satellite locations. Is that correct?
That's correct if that's how the auditor chooses to do it. It's really, the law gives the auditor the latitude to say, well, here in Cedar Falls, we're just going to have Cedar Falls ballots. But in this case, we're making them all available, and some of the technology that we've been able to purchase in the last few years makes that easier to do, where we can generate ballots at the site on the Express Vote machine, rather than having to lug ballots for every precinct to these satellite locations.
Right. And for those who are watching and who didn't catch all of those dates and locations, it will be posted to this link, to this page. So click on it and you'll be able to access where and when you'll be able to vote early. And let's see, there was one question. It was earlier and it was saying, sorry, I lost it in here.
While you're peeking for a question, I'm going to go back and clarify something for folks too. If you go in to vote on election day and you haven't registered to vote and you want to do that, and perhaps you didn't have the proof of residency or you don't have the picture ID, both of those with you, you can vote provisional, and you'll have until the Monday, November 9th, noon, to bring that back in and establish the facts. That way no one gets turned away, because some people will say, I got a ride over here and I can't just go back home and get it. So the county auditors, people can vote you through a provisional process, but it won't get counted unless you do come back and fulfill that piece of information they need to verify you are who you say you are.
Right.
We should also point out, one more way of people being allowed to vote if they don't have proper identification with them. They can have their identity and residency attested to by another voter in that precinct, somebody who is registered, that person can only do that for 2 people on a given election day, but that's an option that's available.
And that tester will have to show their identity
Right.
to the poll workers so they can establish their credibility.
And they should be able to vote a ballot or a provisional ballot.
They would vote a regular ballot then.
Right.
Okay. And I think that's all of our questions. If there is if anyone has a question, if you want to go on and just put it, send it over now. We're going to close questions shortly. But I wanted to again thank all the panelists for going through this process. We've talked about the process of how you register to vote, the organizations, the parties, the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, and then also the League of Women Voters who are out there helping register folks. That Secretary mentioned, all Iowans love choice. And so if you want, you can vote absentee, you can vote early, or you can actually vote on election day. And they've been able to go through some of the information that folks need. We heard some very great information about pre-registering by October 24th. And that would get your name on the list. And so when you actually go to vote, you should have your ID by then sent to you in the mail, and then it would make voting on election day a lot easier. But I guess the big theme of this is plan, right? Plan how you're going to vote and get there. And so I guess we can start. If there are no more questions, we can almost go to some closing statements. And I just want to hold the floor open just for another minute or so. Are there any additional questions that are coming in?
I saw someone's comment about what are the costs of running an election versus what campaigns spend. We don't come close to spending the kind of money campaigns spend on political advertising to operate the elections, both on the state and county level. I mean, the campaigns in Iowa, I think the day the U.S. Senate race is going to be well over $150 million, easy. That's Iowa's alone, the U.S. Senate. Then you add all the other races in there. So I don't think we can get close to that.
And then there was another question in here. Are there any significant changes in regular voting locations due to COVID? Shelley, Grant, if you can talk to that about the counties.
Shelley? Well, I'll go. I didn't hear all of that you were kind of breaking up, but I assume it was talking about having changes in our methods at the polling places due to COVID. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. We have taken a number of measures. We did most of this in the primary election. I think we'll probably be doing everything the same as we did in the primary election, except we're going to have a lot more precincts open for the general. We have masks available for voters as they come in, gloves if they want them. We're sanitizing surfaces all day long, hand sanitizer. One of the workers there will be there to open the door for you so that you don't have to touch the door handle. And we have clear acrylic barriers that are sitting on the tables so that they are between the voters and precinct workers.
And I would just add to that, we've worked real closely with the auditors across the state through some federal grant money we received and been able to, lost track, I think it's 2,500 gallons of hand sanitizer that was gotten from our friends over at Anheuser-Busch. Stuff you use on your hands, folks, don't mix it up. And that was being distributed this week to the counties. Face masks, face shields, social distancing, the safe distancing markers. We want to make sure the poll workers are safe and the people coming in to vote can feel comfortable in that. We've also been able to secure a couple of dollars to send out to the counties to help with the cleaning and prep as far as sanitizing the site before the elections, during the elections, and after the elections. So you should feel real comfortable both working there and as a voter coming in. And I think, again, we learned a lot from the primary, and we're taking that education and knowledge and making this November successful. And we're going to make sure that Iowa stays right at the top of their A game.
There was another question that came in. It said, when will the wording on the voter registration form regarding felonies be changed? It should be done ASAP so that individuals are not discouraged from registering to vote.
Well, I would hope they wouldn't be discouraged right now. There's been so much publicity out there. You'd almost have to be pretty isolated not to have heard what the governor's been doing. And we have all kinds of groups reaching out to people right now. The form, keep in mind, is not something you can just change willy-nilly. It is designed with specific federal and state guidelines. What we're doing is trying to work on the format and try to make sure that the wording is as friendly as we can, but it has to be legal. And but that form should be done, as I've mentioned, within the next week, I'd say at the latest. But we want to make sure all the attorneys have had a chance to look at it. In fact, the Civil Liberties Union even came out the other day and said, hey, there's no race here to get all this done. We want to make sure it's done right, because the last thing we need to do is make it another legal hurdle for these folks who are out there trying to get their selves registered who've been a felon. But it'll be out there within the next week. And the real key to this is going to be those groups who are helping them register, get comfortable and step up and fill out the form, just like any other voter. And I'm confident we'll see that.
Can I ask a question?
Yep, Leanne?
This would be for Secretary of State Paul Pate. What was done in the emergency legislative action besides allowing the auditors to open the ballots early? Were there any other provisions in there?
The driver's license, expired driver's license issue was one of them.
Okay.
Was giving my office the authority to give counties the ability to be flexible on polling site locations. In these last 2 days or so before an election, things can happen. That was a component. I think I'm missing one, but those are the ones that come to my mind. It is on my website. If you want to go to best.iowa.gov, it is on there as well.
It's balloting by confined people in healthcare.
That's right. Thank you, Grant. Yeah.
Normally, those people are supposed to have ballots delivered to them by a team of bipartisan team of precinct workers, but because a lot of those places can't be entered now by most people, just normal mailing of absentee ballots is allowed for those places now.
Okay. Another question, do we have fewer voting locations due to COVID?
Well,
Yes.
we do. BlackHawk and Bremer can speak for themselves, but we did reduce it dramatically back in the primary because, again, we just didn't know what to expect. COVID was something we were still going through and trying to get our arms wrapped around. And so we had a significant reduction in the primary. We will have some reductions, but the majority are there. Again, Grant, how many is BlackHawk going to do? Are you going to do 70% of them? Or?
We're going to have 43. Normally, we have 62 precincts. We've usually had 58 locations. We already had some places combined in the same building, but now we'll be reducing that to 43 locations throughout the county. We had 5 in the primary.
Shelley?
In Bremer County, we are opening all of our locations. We only have 13 and we're opening all 13. We did have to move a couple of them because we couldn't use them. So that's what we ran into due to COVID, but we are still having 13 polling locations.
That's a good segue for you folks. Please go to the county website or go to our Secretary of State website to look for those polling locations. I don't want you to be disappointed by driving to where you think you usually vote at and then go, hey, what happened? It's not here. So if you check it out, that's probably, again, back to that vote plan we keep talking about. You really need to put a little planning into it. Not a lot, some, and that's one of them.
We will be
Thank you.
sending out cards to voters in mid-October, telling them where their polling place is supposed to be for this election.
Shelley, are you doing the same thing in Bremer County?
For the locations that we changed, yes, we're sending them a notice.
And then if folks have already requested their absentee ballots, when do those start getting sent out?
October 5.
So some of the folks who are living in town to get quick mail delivery, you could literally pick your ballot, turn around and get it mailed back out the same day, or walk it down to the auditor's office and drop it right off there.
Yes. And Grant, can you talk just briefly about the ballot boxes outside of the county building for people to drop off their ballots?
Okay. We heard from a number of counties that had drop boxes for the primary election. Either they had drop boxes for years, or else they were getting them for the primary because their courthouses were closed and people couldn't go inside to deliver their ballots by hand. And we thought that would be a good idea to have for the general election. So we now have a ballot drop box just outside the entrance to the courthouse. And it is a very sturdy box that is bolted from the inside into the concrete. You're not going to move it unless you have, well, you're just not going to move it, okay? And, it's locked up with 2 keys, and you know, we will be, and there's a camera trained right at it, a security camera. So we think it's very safe. People that, you know, we also are very confident that the mail service is going to operate as it has in the past and give priority service to absentee ballots. But we can't change people's minds about the concerns that they have about the post office this year. So they have that option. If they want to just hand deliver their ballot, they can bring it to the courthouse. They don't have to come inside. They can just put it in that drop box.
Thank you. Shelley, do you have the same thing in Bremer County?
Yes, we have always had a drop box out there. We're just putting a label on it so that it's very clear to the community that they can use it, continue to use it for regular business, and also to put their ballots in there in any other election, like the request forms. So it'll be labeled different than it ever was before.
And if I might interject, some county auditors also have a place at their counter where you can put it, because not all counters are open. If you go into a courthouse, you may have some access. So you may actually be going into the building and they'll have a slot or some place you can place those as well. And as Grant mentioned, the post office has got over 4,000 blue mailboxes around the state. Plus, we all get personal delivery right there at our doorstep at our home. So you've got those options still available to you. And we work very closely with both the U.S. Postmaster's Office and our local postmasters across the state. Auditors have good relationship with their postmasters. We work hard with the state district as well. And Iowa's district is one of the best in the country for getting delivery. In fact, I've had a couple auditors who now have done some tests of their own, trying to mail a few pieces from around their area to see how long it would take to get to their courthouse. And it gets there pretty quick. But having said that, why wait to the last minute? So if you're going to vote absentee, and once you get comfortable with what the choice is going to be, let's go ahead and get it in the mail and make sure it's done, and you can check online to see if it was received.
Thank you. Sherry?
Yes, I just wanted to share an experience. We've got one brave woman here in the Cedar Falls, Waterloo area who has just determined to get out there and register voters. So she's been going to People's Community Health Clinic. She's gone to the food banks. She's gone to a barber shop. She's gone a whole bunch of different places in Waterloo. And she has registered, I don't know, 4, 6 felons, and maybe about 35, 40 others. But the thing that was so interesting to me that I'm concerned about, she said many of the people she talked to had no idea the governor had done this. You know, most of us, certainly in this panel and audience, were watching TV, we're actually reading newspapers. Yes, that's the thing that she's using. Vicki Brown's holding it up. You know, where you registered to vote, she's got all these locations. So I guess my question is this: is there a thought about who in the state government would have an obligation? What would it cost to send a postcard to these people and say, guess what? You know, better than lottery, you've won back your right to vote. We're dealing with some folks who are perhaps living in Maslow's basement. If anybody knows about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and they may not be at that top point of self-actualization. They're trying to restart their lives and find a job and maybe even find a home. So I'm just wondering, has there been thoughts about who might reach out to those folks?
We are right now putting into a planning phase an outreach effort to felons. Come to my attention that the campaigns are not being shy about doing it right now, political parties as well. So they're doing it. The one thing I've learned about voter education, voter awareness, it's not a one-shot deal. It's 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. People tune in when it's something they want to tune into. And we don't know when that is. So that's why great groups like the League of Women Voters, that's why you do what you do every single day. That's what our office does every day. I have people say, so what are you doing now? The election's over. I'm going, I wish it was that easy. In Iowa, we have elections all the time. The auditors are going to attest to that. There's no break. But on the voter education side, we're always doing it. We are putting significant resources into social media outreach. We are reaching out to over 100 and some groups like the League and LULAC and the NAACP and others like them to give you the toolkit so you know how to go out and help these felons become voters and other Iowans be voters. It's not just them. We do the same thing with young people. We do the same thing with people who are being naturalized. The League and us, our office, we're in many of these naturalization ceremonies right there to say, welcome to being a citizen. Now you have a chance to have your voice heard by being a voter. So yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up. We have to do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but we are putting effort into that and trying to keep it out there, but it's not a one-shot deal. It'll be ongoing all the time. So thank you.
Thank you.
There is another question. Can a poll worker be a tester?
I'm. Do you want to jump on that one, Grant? Or I'm going to give my opinion, not the law. But
a county assessor, is that what you're talking about?
No,
you think?
a tester.
Oh,
Can a poll worker be a county attester?
Yes, they can attest, I believe, twice in one election, if I accurately.
Right.
They can do one election day registration per election, but two, they can attest twice for ID purposes, I believe is how it is.
I believe you're right, Shelley. I'm sorry, I misunderstood the word.
No, you're correct on the answer. I hope you'll bring along a friend who can do it for you so the poll worker can stay focused on being a poll worker.
Thank you for that. Okay, so we're getting ready to, are there any more questions? I know we're coming toward the end of the time. I just want to make sure for folks who have questions, they're able to get them in while we still have this very fine panel with us. And just again, I just want to give you guys some dates. October 5th is the first day folks can start voting in person. Absentee ballots will be mailed out to you at that time if you've already requested one. October 24th is the pre-registration deadline. However, if you still need to register, you can register up until the day of election. And there are many ways that you can do that, and you can access that information by contacting the Secretary of State's website, as well as looking at the county auditors for both BlackHawk and Bremer for that information. One question is, are there any projections on turnout for this year? Who wants to take that one?
I am
Shelley.
historically wrong on that all the time, so somebody else can take it.
Shelley, I'll kick it to you.
It's, hate to use the term, but it's a crapshoot every time. We never know. We plan for the worst and hope for the best. So
I think I can tell you this, folks, it's going to be a high turnout. And when you look at what 2016 was for a midterm, it was pretty high. And what we're seeing right now with the absentee ballot, we know it's going to be as high as the previous cycle. And if you come and ask me, say about October 10th, the auditors will be giving us a hint of just how many ballots they got before that October 5th. We'll have a pretty good feel for it, but it's going to be at least, I'll put myself out there and say 70%.
At least.
Well, I was playing safe, Grant. If it's 80% or more, I'm going to be hearing from a lot of auditors telling me, please send the ad bill. And just to throw back on the question earlier about poll workers and testers, the poll worker has to be from that precinct testing for that individual. That's the only little technical caveat for those folks. Sometimes we move workers around. I just want to make sure we make the lawyers happy out there and dot the I's and cross the T's.
Got it. Great. So we're looking at just about a 70% turnout. So another record setting for Iowa, which would be nice to show the country that we really come out and vote. And it would be all of the, the kudos to all of the folks getting out there, the League of Women Voters, the Democratic Party, the Republican Party for going out and registering new voters and bringing them to the polls. So thank you all. I'm going to go on and let you guys give a couple minutes of closing. And then again, if you can just share some of the, or I guess your main website where people can find some of that important information that you shared on this Zoom call today. And we're going to start with Secretary Pate to close out.
Thank you. I think voting is the most important thing we can do as citizens. It's not only our civic duty, but voting gives us all a voice. The United States is a great country because we give the power to the people to determine who our leaders are. And as Abraham Lincoln famously said, a government of the people, by the people, for the people. That power belongs to all of you. And by voting, you have a say in not just who your next president's going to be or your senator, but also is an opportunity to say how your tax dollars are spent and how your local schools and other government levels are operated. And to get them that information, I encourage you to go to voterready.iowa.gov. And I'd close by just telling you the biggest challenge we in elections face right now is not a technical one. It is not for fear of hackers or third-party bad agents coming in and manipulating your vote. We think we've got that covered. It's misinformation, disinformation. In this day and age, it's sad to say, but with social media the way it is, and it's a very popular means for people getting to their day-to-day information, there's a lot of stuff out there that is intentionally put to disenfranchise you, to make you not have confidence in your government and your elections process. So they stay home, or they throw their arms up in the air and they say, that's not my governor, that's not my senator, that's not my president. And that's disappointing. And I'm asking you not to fall into that. Go to your trusted sources for information. Go to your county auditor, go to your Secretary of State's office to get the hard facts. That's my piece of advice to you. And for gosh sakes, please tell your friends and neighbors, they should do the same and not to fall into this trap. Because when this election is over, we as Americans need to stand behind the election results that we will be putting together and certifying. And I think we've all got your back here in Iowa. And I'm looking forward to making sure, as the coach, if you will, on this elections team, that we've got all the resources out there and we'll make this a successful election. So thank the panel, the League of Women Voters, and others for letting us spend some time with you today. And let's be out there and be a voter. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. And everybody, you heard the Secretary say, get your information from a credible source. Iowa has done what it can do to make sure that our election is going to be safe and secure. So everybody casting a ballot in 2020 should feel confident that their ballot will be counted and we will be able to certify our elections here and it will be done properly. So thank you, Secretary. Grant Veeder, Blackhawk County Auditor, a couple minutes of closing.
Well, I can't really say it any better than Paul did. I think that we are going to have a well-run election in Iowa. And I gave my information, contact information earlier. Please contact us for any questions and do tell your friends and neighbors they can vote with confidence and to get information that from the source and not to just expect everything they see on Facebook or whatever to be true.
Thank you, Grant. Shelley, Bremer County Auditor.
Just want to remind everybody, when you vote that ballot, make sure you sign that envelope before you mail it in. It has to be signed. If you, for some reason, open it and reseal it, know that that's going to be rejected. We'll be calling you, because when we receive it and we can see that it's been opened and resealed, it could be somebody else could have tampered with it. So we will contact you and you can start over again. We want everybody to know that if we do get a ballot and there are any issues, it doesn't just go in a box and you never know it. If anything comes in with issues, we contact the voter. I always say too that I'm proud to be an auditor in Iowa. I'm very fortunate that Iowa has the laws and processes that we have, makes our lives better. I believe we can answer our voters with so much confidence and so much assurance, because Iowa is a great state. So much of the news, what they hear in the media, is national news, and I assure them that Iowa is not a part of typically what the national media is reporting on. So, and our website, we have a latest news area on that. The most pertinent information is usually put on that latest news button, and there's also an election news box where we'll take you to all of our election related information for Bremer County. And thank you for having me.
Thank you. So folks, if you accidentally messed up your ballot, if you do send it in, the county auditor will call you, or you can be proactive and you can reach out to the county auditor and ask what you need to do to make sure to get you a correct ballot so it's properly counted. So thank you for that, Shelley. Vicki Brown, the chair of the Democrat Party for Blackhawk County.
I hope everyone can hear me. I just want to say I appreciate everyone that's been on this Facebook call today. And I'll follow up with, please, everyone out there that's listening to this, do your civic duty, vote, because your voice is your vote. I'm going to give our website again. It's info@blackhawkdemocrats.com. If there's any information that you could need from us or from any of the others, if we don't have the answers, we will definitely direct you. Our phone number here at our office is area code 319-236-2992. And I'm just going to say that we have some magnificent candidates across the county, across the state, nationally. Please vote. And do know that these candidates, they continue to need your talents. They continue to need your help. They continue to need your donations. So go to everyone's website, see who your candidates are, and please help where you can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Leanne, who is the chair of the Republican Party of Blackhawk County. Final words?
Sure, thanks for having me. I've enjoyed hearing each one of you and gaining more insight into this process. I just want to compliment our county auditor and his crew because I've had several conversations with them and we had a Zoom meeting with them last week, and so appreciate their information and their quick answering, getting back to us with answers to our questions. And it was good to hear from Paul Pate today too. And I agree, our election process in Iowa is very secure and we can be confident in it. And so thank you again once for all of you for participating and sharing the information you have.
Thank you. Therese Grants, President of Iowa, League of Women Voters for Iowa. Final statement.
Yeah, well, I agree, Secretary of State Paul Pate, you said it the best. And I totally agree with you as far as, you know, what is important here in Iowa. And we can all be proud to be Iowans, and voting is such an important thing to do. And I really thank to the BlackHawk-Bremer League here, who has done a wonderful job now in providing information to their voters here in BlackHawk-Bremer, and providing all kinds of great information from everyone here today. And good luck to the auditors and to Secretary of State too, and all the work that you have left to do between now and November 3rd, and perhaps a few days beyond. So thank you so much to everybody. Thanks again.
Great, thank you. And for folks watching, if there was something that you did not get information on, feel free to reach out to the League of Women Voters, BlackHawk and Bremer County. The information will be on the side panel. We will be here to help you guys, and we love to make sure you guys get the information, because we want to see Iowa set another record this election. So thank you to Sherry and our technical person, Michael, for doing such a phenomenal job. And thank you all for all of the information that you've shared with the folks today. It's invaluable, and happy 2020 election all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yeshi.
Thank you for
Yeah,
doing
thanks a
a
lot.
wonderful job.
See you later.
Thank you.
Take care.
Appreciate it.
You were great.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot, Secretary of
Thank you
State.
so much. Great job.
It was a great session.